Welcome to our first ever DEX Show live. I'm Tom McGrath. I'm joined as ever by my main man, Tim Flower.
How's everyone doing? Welcome from me as well to the first session, the first episode of a live podcast here at Experience Everywhere, the first show of 4 around the globe. And when Tom and I were given the opportunity to do one live on stage, we just couldn't pass it up.
We certainly couldn't. If you're wondering who we are, we present a weekly podcast called the DEX Show. Recently passed our 100 episode milestone, which is really incredible because that's actually one episode for every year of Tim's IT career, ladies and gentlemen. So, astonishing stuff, really. We couldn't say no when we were asked to, you know. Surprised him with that one.
Yeah, that was good. So the podcast actually came out as a result of, I think it was 2018 or 2019. We were on stage in New York City with a great couple of customers. And as we wrapped it up, I said, what a shame that the only people that could take advantage of that conversation were the people in the audience. So to bring it to a podcast format has been really great for us. 3 years, 100 episodes. I thought it was 4,000 streams a month. It's 10,000 streams a month.
It's gone up significantly.
And it's not just one show. It's not just the DEX Show. There's a sister show called Reality Bites, where we get a little more technical, and it's all due to the great work of Tom McGrath and the folks behind the scenes that make it all happen.
Absolutely. One of the things we do on the show, if you don't listen, is we do speak to hundreds of fantastic IT leaders. We do it all the time. We also occasionally like to step outside of IT and get a different perspective on the digital workplace, on the changing, evolving nature of work and workplace technology. And that's what we thought we'd do today. So we are going to welcome Darren Wright from Honeywell onto the stage in about 10-15 minutes. But our first guest is not from the IT world. Au contraire, you might say. He's a former F1 driver, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Robert Doornbos to the stage. Take a seat, Robert.
Welcome, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Let's get comfortable.
Robert, you had a pretty interesting career, pretty interesting life. Maybe in miniature, for anyone who doesn't know you yet, maybe give us it in a nutshell, sir.
In a nutshell. Well, I'm Robert Doornbos. I live in the Netherlands. I'm a father nowadays of 2 beautiful kids. And I finished my racing career, but I started my racing career as a very lucky guy because I made from my hobby my profession. And I think if I speak to the founders here of Nextink as well, they speak with so much passion about their company. I think they have the same feeling. If you can make from your hobby a profession, you don't feel like you have to work a day in your life. And to be honest, to drive race cars at those speeds and to get paid for it, it's quite a lucky job.
Not bad,
yeah.
Not bad. Always curious. I only learned to drive a few years ago, and I always wonder, if you're a professional driver and you're on the road, this isn't a very relevant question, by the way, but do you look at the rest of us like, what are you all doing? I mean, do we look like a horror show, or we look all right? I mean,
I'm terrible.
You're a terrible driver.
No, to sit in the car next to somebody, I'm terrible.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I actually asked the Uber driver last night to change seats, but he didn't let me to.
And you're not going to go very fast on these London streets.
No, I don't think. Well, street circuits I do like them.
Yeah. So let's connect racing technology with enterprise technology. Yeah. So how do you accommodate change? Racing technology it's got to change every year. And the problem in enterprise tech is that when something changes, something breaks, right? I say it often, every time IT touches something, it breaks. How do you accommodate change in technology and make you better versus a negative impact?
Well, first of all, you can break race cars as well. I think I have a few team bosses that were not so happy with me at the end of the day. But what I did learn is coming through the ranks, you start in go-karting, you go to Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2, and finally, if you're lucky enough, you get to Formula 1. Data in those days wasn't really there in these junior formulas, only to manage the engine side, but not really to help the driver improve his skills. So I had a teammate, for example, in Formula 3, and he told me on a new track here in England, British Formula 3 was the best in the world, so I had to be here to challenge myself. And my teammate said, oh, turn 1 in Silverstone, easy flat. I said, yeah, sure, I've never been here, it's easy flat, yeah. So I did it, and I ended up in a cornfield outside the racetrack, and he was laughing, because nowadays data doesn't lie anymore. It proves where you can go flat out, where you have to brake, where you have to shift gears. So the technology exploded in racing world as well, to make the driver better, to make the car better, to make the team more efficient, and obviously to get a better result altogether.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So how do you accommodate as a driver yourself? When you're working with technology in the car, do you ever wish you could just go back to a 4-speed and a carbureted engine and just let me go? Or has the technology gotten to a place where you just can't live without it?
Those were your days then. Yeah. That's a long time
100
ago.
years ago.
That's a long time. No, to be honest, when you get to Formula One, the first day, I remember Eddie Jordan was a famous team owner, and he gave me the first opportunity in my life to drive a Formula One car. And besides handing me over the contract, he also handed me over a manual, and it was like this thick, and it was only the manual of the steering wheel. I had to learn on the flight to Shanghai to learn how to manage all the functions on the steering wheel. Nowadays, Formula One cars have up to 70 functions on the steering wheel, which you have to be able to use while driving 220 miles an hour average. So it's quite a challenge to understand what all the technology can do to you. But if you don't understand what it can do, it won't help you go fast on the racetrack. So that was quite a challenge. The first time I got out of the pit lane, which button was which button? You can imagine if you're doing 300 kilometers an hour, and if you look 1 second down to the steering wheel, where was the button? By the time you look back up, you're a football field further down the road. So it's technology is interesting, but you have to spend a lot of time in it to understand it and to help the engineers and yourself.
Wow.
So I mean, not just thinking about your career as a driver, where new technologies meant you had to adapt, but also I understand prior to becoming a professional driver, you were a tennis player. After being a professional driver, you've been an entrepreneur. You're a motivational speaker today. Adaptation, or adaptation, I should say, has obviously been a big part of your life and your career. So whether it's technological adaptation or otherwise, because it's something we're all living with and very conscious of, particularly at present, what advice would you give to people in terms of approaching change?
Yeah, I think what I learned in my racing career is how much risk am I willing to take to get the maximum result out of the weekend. And that is something I also use in my entrepreneur life with my business. If I want to take more risk, okay, there's more rewards, but there's also higher risk that it fails. And on the other side, I think that's more like a character building stuff. If things seem under control, it wasn't going fast enough for me. So in coming from Formula One, went to IndyCar. Finally, my career, I finished my career, I survived it because IndyCar is quite dangerous as well. We'll speak about that a little bit later. But then coming into the business world, I was pleased and with my efforts, but when things seemed under control, I was not feeling comfortable anymore, and I had to challenge myself to dig deeper. And I think that's more like a character building than anything else. Yeah.
And one of the things we're talking about here today, obviously, is AI and its impact on IT.
Yeah. I went to so many breakfast meetings. AI, like American companies, they always have breakfast meetings, right? I invest in startups, and there was this AI company invited me in Amsterdam, 6 a.m. breakfast meeting. Is that early enough for you? I said, well, I have 2 small kids, so I'm awake by then easily.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Yeah, that was a bit challenging. Yeah, don't invite me.
I'm good.
But yeah, the AI stuff, it goes so fast. I mean, it's that's something I'm pushing myself in to learn a little bit.
I think the interesting thing about AI and IT is that balance between technology and the individual. I mean, do you have a sense of like how AI is impacting racing specifically right now, and how do you retain that, the primacy, if you will, of the driver themselves at the center of it?
Yeah, nowadays, the Formula One world is changing a little bit. They have budget caps. Back in my days, there was unlimited budget, so the teams were spending up to $350 million a year just to improve the car and to do extra mileage on track. And being a test and reserve driver the first few years, especially at Red Bull Racing, my first year, I flew all over the world. First race was in Australia, Melbourne. I did the practice there on Friday. On Saturday, they flew me out to Barcelona. There was a test team there to get more mileage in. And every day, testing a Formula One car will cost $1 million per car per day. So it's hugely expensive. And it just, the gap with the bigger teams and the smaller teams just increased too much. So it wasn't a level playing field anymore. And then the Formula One organization said, you know what, there's a budget cap, $145 million per team you can spend, as you wish, as you like, except driver salaries, because some drivers are a little bit up there. What you see is that they started investing their money into simulators, like technology. Okay, we don't go real time to the racetrack, but let's build a simulator that's half the size of this room and see if we can find the perfect correlation between on-track activities and not real-life activities. Sure. And now, the first thing I got into the simulator, I was driving and I felt like I was driving a PlayStation. But then I looked behind me and I saw 20 engineers really focused on setting up the car. And at one stage, it felt like I was driving a real car, except of the G-forces. But gathering data so they could improve the car, that is something that is in the past 10 years really exploded. And for those of you who are watching Formula One, if you see real race cars on track, like in Qatar last weekend, there's always a simulator driver back in the factory who's doing, even though with the time difference, just driving and testing different setups and trying to maximize that. Yeah.
Amazing.
I forgot totally what the question was, but I hope
It was great. It was great. It was such a good answer.
sort of, yeah.
We're going to get to our next guest momentarily, but
Yeah.
before we do, this is just to whet the audience's appetite. You are on later today.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
tell them a little bit about what to expect.
Well, at the end of the day, I think just around drinks time, right? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'll be there. I'm going to take you into behind the scenes, the world of Red Bull Racing. It's a team I know quite well. They've done extremely well in the past years with Max Verstappen and obviously winning their Constructors' Championships as well. So that's a bit of the sportive side, what it's like to be in the car. So I'm going to take you really around the lap, and so hopefully you're going to enjoy that. And then I'll take you more into the entrepreneur side of running a Formula One business, and obviously the data side. And we'll just do like a speed course Formula One in less than 30 minutes. So it will be very energetic.
Amazing.
Hopefully.
Be there. Thank you. Stay there,
Yeah.
please, Robert. We
Excellent.
wanted to bring you into the conversation a little bit more, but we're going to introduce our next guest now.
Yeah, so, and you brought the simulator with you, right?
I did bring actually a physical steering wheel of Red Bull. They gave it to me. It's worth about 50,000 pounds, so it's somewhere it's safe. Stored in a room. I'll show it to you later. But it's amazing. These cars are driven by data and built to win. I hope you enjoy it later.
Cool.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So let's introduce our next guest. He was with us last year, had an amazing presentation. It was the talk of the town, my town anyway, because I couldn't stop talking about it. Amazing results. I pride myself in being a customer. I love talking with other customers. So please welcome to the stage, Darren Wright, VP of IT at Honeywell. Darren, welcome.
Tim?
Hey, Darren, welcome.
See you.
See you, man.
Oh,
He's not joking, Darren. He was talking about it for months. To the point of like, he's still talking about Darren's presentation.
Can't stop talking about it.
Quoting your statistics. He absolutely loved it. And I'm sure some of the audience saw it a year ago. It was fantastic. Maybe give us a quick refresher, not to set Tim off again, you understand.
I was going to say, I risk doing that. So, what I talked about last year was really some of our key results. So some of the things we measured was around our productivity hours that we can save. So I think we were talking I think it was year to date, 800,000. So we finished the year around 900,000, targeting 1.2 million this year. That's our target. We also talked about how much automation we can do. We ended the year around 60%, targeting this year 70%. So that's how much more automation we want to keep driving into the company.
Fantastic. And if you were to bring us up to date, what have the intervening year between these two experiences been like for you?
So I think a few things. So I kind of call it doing the basics, but maybe some people wouldn't say it's the basics, but it's looking at the use cases, looking at the opportunities, doing more automation. You know, we just want to do more and more of that proactive. So definitely we just keep doing the same thing, just finding more and more opportunities. CMDB integration was a big one for us. Kind of a bane of many people in IT's lives, I think, just getting that good, up-to-date data, so that integration has been really helpful for us. Windows 11 has been a key one. We've used NextThink a lot for that, just in order to us to bring all of our environment up to date. Another key one I'm looking at is what we call digital drives. So, the more we look, the more we see how everything gets so out of date so quickly when you've got things on 3, 4, 5, 6 year cycles. So we're really focusing on understanding, okay, which drivers are causing us problems? What do we need to keep uplifting to? So that's been another really key focus.
A hectic and productive year. Okay.
Yeah.
Always lots. I mean, I'd say the one other thing I just mentioned is we're on the infinity journey. And I think as well as looking at the environment, there's more and more capability coming through the tool. So we kind of look at it that way as well as we can see what we need to do, but what is the tool able to do that maybe we haven't thought about yet? So that's another way we look at it.
So the conversion that I did last year, and I'll do it again with your new number, 900,000 hours for the audience, is an equivalent of 450 FTEs. So you have all been hired at Honeywell, and you're going to work all year long and get paid all year long to do absolutely nothing. That's the equivalent savings that he's talking about. It's massive. You did a great job at communicating your accomplishments. How do you communicate internally what a lot of people considered an intangible, right? It's easy to count tickets. We went from 52,000 to 8,000, $5 a ticket, $2.5 million. How do you communicate the value and the benefit of time?
That's probably one of the toughest things, one of the biggest challenges. So yeah, we got good at the sort of inside out view of, like you say, counting. We're all IT people, we're getting good at all the data. But when you think about the outside in and what that really means, that's a lot tougher. So I'd say a couple of things that spring to mind that we do. So one is, although we can see everything that's going on in the environment, we also do things like our Voice of the Employee survey, give them their opportunity to come tell us what they think about IT. Not usually great. But that really gives us that opportunity to do like that trust and verify. So we kind of know what's going on. But when we get that opportunity for them to kind of highlight some of these things to us, it gives us that opportunity to communicate those things back to say, we listened, even though we can probably see it already, but we listened, here's the action we've taken, and then we start communicating the heck out of the results. So if they're complaining about, you know, their poor Wi-Fi or their slow boot up or whatever, it's things that we can say, we listened, we took action, here's some of the results. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you keep doing over and over. Another thing I'd mention, we got a good framework internally where we kind of gamify things a little bit between our sites, between our countries. We got techs all over the world. And we really try and gamify things to say, you know, what's your average boot time? You know, who's going to get the best? What's the best performing country? What's the best performing region? Things like that. So that's another one that we can do internally to actually drive some of those results and again help us communicate.
Very cool. And Robert, you talked about time. Time has to be the number one metric for the whole F1 team. So here's a question for you. You've got $1 million. How do you decide where to invest that million to get the maximum benefit of time? Is it in the car? Is it in
I would hire Max Verstappen. I would hire Max Verstappen for one lap. You know, he can make a difference. It's frustrating to see for sometimes the teams, they invest 50 million to make the car go faster, 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap. If you find the right driver, engineering combination, it's a team effort, right? So Max is now leading the World Championship, and obviously he won it for the 3rd time in a row. But behind him, there are 1,300 employees that make it also possible for him to achieve at this highest level. We talk about the pit stops, that's performing under pressure. That's really a challenge. But behind the scenes, the people are working in the factory, getting the car ready. So all in all, you cannot, if you have $1 million, I don't think you can even start the engine properly. But I would hire Max Verstappen.
Yeah. And Darren, you know, the element of time for an IT team, when you think about justifying an IT expense for your shop, what kinds of things do you think about in using time to justify your increased speed, right? You've got competition yourself, you need to win the race. How do you take the time element and actually not just communicate it to the business, but use it for justification of either a purchase or a renewal?
I mean, again, it's a tough one, I think. You know, I'm sure I'm not alone that we have to continually re-justify. So the fact that we had a good business case for Nextthink 5 years ago doesn't necessarily mean there's a good business case now. Every year it's like, why are we still spending that money, or what is that bringing to us? So I think I kind of look at these, you know, there's kind of 2 things. It's kind of like the inside out and the outside in. I think from the IT perspective, we're always looking at, you know, can we do more with less in terms of the technician time or whatever? That's reducing the IT costs, right? Another big win we had this year, we're looking at our Microsoft renewal. We actually compared, you know, what's installed versus what's used. $500,000 worth of software not being used. So, you know, that's a nice justification. Yeah. But me personally, I think is where the biggest value is when you start looking at it from that outside in. You know, I think you talk about those productivity hours. If I can save, or I can make the 120,000 employees across Honeywell 10 minutes more productive each year, You know, like that's you know, another 500 more employees actually doing work. So we constantly try and market those things that we're doing. I think the IT stuff is easier, but the real benefit to the customers, that's a little bit harder, because they're, you know, we kind of call them soft benefits. You know, so they're like, yeah, you're saving 10 minutes, but are you really saving, you know, so 500 more people, so does that mean we need 500 less employees? No, we don't. We're trying to actually just make them more productive. Right. So we just keep talking about it, keep measuring it, keep sharing it.
Cool.
100%. And obviously a very future-facing experience this year, a lot of innovation in the pipeline. When you look ahead, Darren, what excites you, short, medium, long term at Honeywell? So
a couple of things again. I think, you know, I mentioned Infinity. You know, we've been on the journey. We've had the relationship with NextThink 5, more than 5 years now. So we've gone from the on-prem solution to the cloud. You know, now we're on the Infinity journey. And then if I was Buzz Lightyear, I'd say infinity and beyond. You know, what else is possible? So, you know, I think we're constantly looking at that, like, you know, what's the art of the possible? And then we're also looking at, I think, a couple of the things that kind of make that I'm passionate around is, I think it was brought up earlier, I mean, the days of the time-based refresh of PCs is gone. You know, do we even know if we're matching the right PC to the right person? And, you know, is it end of life in 3 years, 4 years? So, you know, we call it performance-based refresh. So we've been really looking at all the analytics around that to really start making much smarter, data-driven decisions around that. So that's one thing we're looking at. Within Honeywell, we've got an investment with MoveWorks. We have Red is our kind of digital first facing support persona within IT. So that's another area that we're really, really continuing to focus on, is more and more integration between NextThink with MoveWorks and our other tools like ServiceNow, etc.
I did hear, Tim, before cut in, I did hear that Honeywell maybe has a little pre-experience of Flow, which of course we launched. I'm just wondering if it's nothing bad, you know, if you've got anything to share.
So I mean, great to be part of these things and get the early view. So I think, talking to the team, I mean, we've now used Flow on 15 of our different campaigns, so, you know, existing and some new ones. Feedback is, you know, really good, very easy to use. The graphical interface is great, particularly good with like those really complex scripting that might take, you know, days to do before. Good quote from, you know, my leader for NextThink, Nico. He said it was so good that even I could use it. So
I'm thinking of a career in IT.
There you go.
So I'm thinking of the stuff. I'm like,
I think we might be able to make it.
So we got a minute or two before we get the hook. Before we leave, though, what advice would you give to IT leaders? We talked a little bit about perception of IT. It's typically negative, especially the network team, right? How do you as an IT leader change that perspective? And do you see it eventually where IT becomes a business enabler or is seen as a valued partner versus a cost center?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I've seen it change a little bit over time. And I think sometimes it's dependent on, you know, which part of IT. Because when I think about that, you know, sometimes you can justify IT as an enabler when you're implementing a customer-facing application that, you know, there's a direct correlation and everybody understands. What I think is much harder is the kind of, you know, should I say, sort of more back office things. So if you're investing in a MoveWorks or a NextThink or a ServiceNow, much harder to, you know, to actually quantify that and do that. So, you know, for me, I think it's just keeping that conversation going. It's not just about the hard dollar savings of what IT can do more with less. That's important. But it's really focusing on that, the importance of giving those users, those employees, those great tools to be able to do their job really well and be able to articulate that in terms of that productivity. So, you know, it's really, for me, just keep marketing, keep talking about that.
So let's wrap it up. Robert, Awesome to talk with you. Thank you for joining us. Darren, thank you for joining us here. But one last request before we go, and I'll turn it over to Tom to wrap it up as well. How about a quick hello from London for everybody listening to this podcast down the road? 1, 2, 3. Hello from London. Thank you. Good job. That was kind of a good job.
Amazing. And just a final word. Huge thanks to our guests. Huge thanks to you. Huge thanks to Experience Everywhere for having us. And if you want to listen to the show, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Gentlemen, audience, been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And we've got to welcome on stage before we go Yvette Herna. So Yvette, welcome. Thank you all so much.